Good evening, I'm Adrienne Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. 48 hours after its polls began closing, a divided U.S. idles at a crossroads.
Stop the cheat! Stop the cheat! Count every vote! Count every vote!
As the ballot count drags on tonight, Americans are asking, we are all wondering, which way will it turn?
Democracy is sometimes messy. It sometimes requires a little patience as well.
The focus, just a small handful of states, from the north to the south to the western desert. But patience isn't everywhere.
You're not worried about division?
It's long overdue, another civil war in this country, in all honesty.
In the face of such deep animosity, can the next president, as yet unknown, bring any unity?
This is a special edition of The National.
And this is the end goal, the White House. Tonight, the work continues to figure out who will be in it for the next 4 years.
Will it be Donald Trump or Joe Biden? No answer yet.
In the United States and around the world, this process is testing everyone's patience. After 2 days, no candidate has yet reached 270 Electoral College votes.
Yeah, and that's creating a lot of exhaustion, frustration, and anger. Today, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden spoke to Americans. Their messages couldn't have been more different.
I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm. The process is working.
This is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election.
Away from the bluster, scenes like this, ballots being counted one by one, states saying they're aiming for accuracy over speed. After all, the margins separating Trump and Biden are, in some places, razor thin.
So tracking every move in this ever-changing story, our reporters fanned out across the U.S. in Delaware with the Biden campaign, in Washington keeping an eye on the Trump campaign, and in key states still in limbo, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. But let's start with the numbers. Vote counters are working through the last remaining ballots in those contested states. So Ian is here to bring us up to speed on where things stand. Ian?
Adrienne, exactly 24 hours ago, I was telling you there were 6 states undecided. Well, right now there are still 6 states undecided, but we are learning a lot more about how this race is going. So let's assume for a moment that Alaska will go on the Republican side of the ledger. That's almost a certainty. And for the purpose of argument, let's assume North Carolina will as well. That leaves 4 absolutely pivotal states in this race for the White House, beginning with Pennsylvania, 20 Electoral College votes. And every time we get new results from Pennsylvania, it gets closer and closer and closer. That's because Joe Biden, as expected, the Democrats, as expected, voted overwhelmingly in the advanced mail-in ballots, and those are counted last. So it's looking really good for Joe Biden there. He would win the White House if he wins Pennsylvania. For Donald Trump, though, it is a must-win. Trump also has to win the next couple of states we're going to take a look at. Georgia, he is in the lead, has been in the lead. I know percentage-wise 49.4%, but a sliver of a lead still for Donald Trump. Just 1% of the votes to be counted there. And again, the more that gets counted, the better it's looked for Joe Biden. But Trump's still in the lead. 2 more states I want to quickly show you, because this is a state that Joe Biden is leading in. Donald Trump has to win at least one of these to win the White House. We expect more votes in from Las Vegas, that area. That should favor Joe Biden. But this is the really tricky one coming up now. Arizona, yes, Joe Biden is in the lead, but this is a different trend line than we've seen in places like Pennsylvania. More votes being counted have actually favored Donald Trump. And Adrienne and Andrew, according to the Secretary of State of Arizona, we will have a much more clear picture, that's an exact quote, in Arizona tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. All right, thank you.
Now, President Trump did speak at the White House earlier this evening, making a number of unsubstantiated claims and accusations against Democrats, electoral workers, the media, pollsters. Paul Hunter was in the room. So, Paul, where do we start?
Look, this is Donald Trump being Donald Trump. It's how he's campaigned. In effect, this may be his explanation for why he may lose.
Tonight, from Donald Trump, defiance. Speaking to reporters at the White House with a list of grievances and Trump's rationale for why he's losing. The election rigged against him, blaming Democrats, and as ever, offering no evidence to support that.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late.
Meanwhile, the vote count in those key remaining states continued.
Our goal here in Clark County is not to count fast. We want to make sure that we're being accurate.
So far, he's true to his word on not counting fast. As for accuracy, the Trump campaign challenged that today.
We are filing in federal district court here in Las Vegas. We're asking for emergency relief to stop the counting of improper votes.
Trump has launched a number of lawsuits this week, but already 2 have been full-on tossed out of court, one in Michigan, another in Georgia. Critics note Trump seems to want to have counting stopped in states where he's ahead, but wants it to continue in states where he's behind. Back at the White House tonight, Trump suggested no matter what happens with the Electoral College count, he won't go down without a fight.
We think there's going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof, and it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land. We'll see. But we think there'll be a lot of litigation because we can't have an election stolen like this.
These were the first public comments by the president, Andrew, since he prematurely claimed victory on election night. So keep in mind the context of the moment. He is staring into the abyss right now. His presidency is evaporating, and he knows it.
Paul Hunter in Washington, thank you.
And so joining us now, the senior editor of The Atlantic, David Frum, former Obama administration official, Krish Vignarajah. So, Krish, Donald Trump spoke earlier tonight without evidence of illegal ballots, you know, the speech full of mischaracterizations. What did you make of what it is he had to say? Is he sort of grabbing at the hinges as some people are trying to push him out the door?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you've seen in the last 48 hours are just acts of desperation. Their strategy seems to be throw as much as they can out there and see what sticks. The problem with that strategy is, one, it won't win, and two, it's dangerous. It's dangerous not as much because I fear for the strength of our democracy, because I have absolute faith in that. It's dangerous for the poll workers. The fact that he is targeting, this process that has been, very clearly policed and careful, is dangerous to those people because we see what happens when he speaks. When he said free Michigan, you had people targeting Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. When he said welcome Kamala Harris in Texas, you had his supporters try to drive the bus off the road. And so when he starts suggesting that this is an illegitimate process, those words mean something, and they could put the lives, of these individuals or, risk harm to people who are simply going out there, doing their jobs and trying to protect democracy.
And David, it was interesting watching this news conference because several American networks just cut him off, just completely cut him off and stopped airing it, started fact-checking him. I'm wondering, what is the risk, do you interpret, of what he's just done?
Well, in the olden days when I used to help politicians with this kind of thing, you would make them watch their performances with the sound off. Because they needed to understand that most people are not watching TV intently. They're watching it while doing other things, they're distracted, and they're capturing the angle of the body, the look on the face. If you watch that statement with the sound off, that was a broken and defeated man. And when you watch Joe Biden's statements with the sound off, you see someone who's exuding the kind of the calm that you have when you have the numbers in your hand. And so I think everyone is sort of adjusting to the slow drift of power away from Donald Trump, and it'll happen maybe tonight, probably tomorrow. The power will just go, and although there will not be a legal result for a few days. And although, of course, the inauguration is not till January, the realities of power in Washington are remorseless, alert, and they are moving.
All right, David Frum and Krish Vignarajah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So we showed you Donald Trump just a few minutes ago. Well, Joe Biden spoke as well. He had a message for Americans. Susan Ormiston is in Wilmington, Delaware, near Biden headquarters. So Susan, what is Biden saying?
Well, Joe Biden's response to Trump tonight was a tweet. Keep the faith, folks, refusing to be drawn into a political street fight in public anyway, over an election he believes he's won.
Good afternoon, folks.
The signaling from Joe Biden and his team is clear.
We continue to feel, Senator and I, we continue to feel very good about where things stand. We have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners. So I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm.
The count is all important, but they're confident the trend is going their way and they will reach the magic 270 mark. It has been a 48-hour seesaw for voters.
Last night before I went to bed, it sounded like Biden had Arizona. And I think when I got up this morning, it was Trump had Arizona.
Pro-Trump protests have popped up in several parts of the country. In Philadelphia, the largest block of votes still need to be fully tabulated, but Trump's lead in Pennsylvania is narrowing.
What I can tell you is
Biden's legal team is gearing up to fight his lawsuits.
All of this is intended to create a large cloud that it is the hope of the Trump campaign that nobody can see through, but it is not a very thick cloud. It's not hard to see what they're doing. We see through it.
Biden's been mostly working from his Delaware home in a wealthy suburb of Wilmington down this road. Outside a Wilmington cafe, Cass Ledyard, a Biden supporter, says his first election will go down in the history books.
I thought Donald Trump was going to, I thought he was going to win. Most of the people around me vote for Trump. But I'm really happy that Joe's looking good. He's looking a lot better than I thought he would.
It all has an air of quiet momentum. The press gathered for Biden's departure tonight after a coronavirus briefing. We could see a decision soon.
All right, so the watching continues. What do you know, Susan, about the next steps in all of this, about what tomorrow might look like for Biden?
Yeah, well, every day it's been tomorrow, hasn't it? I can say this set in the parking lot is hot. They've been testing the monitors, the stage, the video. So we might see something tomorrow, but they can't preempt the vote. After all the focus Biden has put on democracy and following the process, Joe Biden has to be patient too.
All right, Susan Ormiston in Wilmington, Delaware. Thanks, Susan.
Now let's go to Stephen D'Souza in the state of Pennsylvania. Key to this race, hotly contested, and that played out on the ground with supporters of both candidates in a standoff today in Philadelphia. So, Stephen, you're in Scranton, Joe Biden's hometown. What did you find there?
We found a town that's very much like the rest of the state and the rest of the country, deeply divided. And even though this is Joe Biden's hometown, it didn't mean he sailed to victory here, because we are still very much deep in the heart of Trump country. At Joe Biden's favorite hoagie shop, his image is everywhere. But just across the street, a sign of the state's divide. Biden was born here, grew up in this home until he was 10. The site has become a political pilgrimage for some.
Very exciting feeling, you know, it makes you think what you could do with your own life.
Biden campaigned heavily on his working class roots here.
On my drive home, it's nothing but Trump. Out, you know, the normal working class people.
But not everyone is pulling for the hometown boy.
Well, honestly, he's been a politician for how long? He's really never done anything. And plus he hid in his bunker all COVID long. I mean, I don't have any respect for someone like that.
Across the street and across the vast political divide, Anna Colleen says she can't believe Pennsylvania didn't send a stronger message to Donald Trump.
We have a lot of work to do. If it's still this close after the chaos that has been over the last 4 years, I think we have to really look at what we could do to make this country a lot better.
Biden won this area by just 8 points, hardly a sweeping statement. Trump's total vote here actually grew from 2016's. This local freelance journalist says that's because Trump has the stronger appeal to the working class.
They see themselves as tossed aside, disenfranchised. Traditionally, the Democrats were associated with a friend of the working man. They helped the working class. In many people's minds now, lifelong Democrats, that has changed.
Anna Colleen knows that feeling and divide won't disappear overnight if Biden becomes president.
So I'm hopeful, and I'm looking forward to Biden listening to the people again, listening to the people in the country, and hopefully we could make this figure it out.
So, Stephen, in terms of finishing the vote count in Pennsylvania, what's the outlook?
Well, for officials, the finish line is within sight. They say the overwhelming majority of votes will be done by tomorrow and counted, and they're hoping that there will be a result that may bring comfort for some, but controversy for others.
Finish line in sight. I think I've heard that one before. Stephen D'Souza, thank you very much.
From the Keystone State, let's go to another key state, Georgia, where the gap has been tightening for more than 24 hours. Katie Simpson is at State Farm Arena in Atlanta. That is where they are counting the votes, I gather. So, Katie, what's happening where you are?
Well, the president's supporters are still out here, and they're claiming something suspicious has gone on because it's taking so long to get that vote count done. Calls for calm and patience here in Georgia are being ignored by the Trump campaign as the president has watched his slim lead fade away today. The president's supporters in Georgia are energized and angry.
They ain't taking it from us!
Gathering outside the Atlanta arena where ballots are tabulated, they questioned the integrity of the voting system.
This is absurd. We're sitting here, I mean, how many days ago was the election? Tuesday it should have been called. Yeah, it should have been called Tuesday.
Emotions here are raw as supporters have watched Donald Trump's lead slowly dwindle, and along with it, his chances of re-election.
Why are you stopping the vote? You're racist. Stop racist. Let them count. Let them count the vote. Every vote counts. Every vote counts.
The Trump campaign leaned into those tensions. The president's son traveled to Atlanta to complain about how long the vote count is taking and to accuse Democrats of cheating the system, suggesting more legal challenges are to come.
Fight each and every one of these battles to the death so that we get full transparency in the process. And everyone on the Democrat side should welcome this unless they're actually cheating.
But the counting process is going as planned, say elections officials, who are trying to turn the temperature down.
In this state, we have taken the steps at every level to secure that vote and make sure the integrity of the ballot is protected.
Making pleas for patience. They say it's normal for a vote count to take this long because of the surge in absentee ballots cast in the pandemic.
Fast is great, and we appreciate fast. We more appreciate accuracy. Accuracy is going to be the bedrock upon which people will believe the outcomes of these elections.
The president suffered another setback here in Georgia today. His campaign had launched a lawsuit claiming that about 50 ballots were counted in error, that they had arrived past the deadline cutoff, and that the law was broken. But a judge today looked at the claim and tossed it out, saying there's no evidence to prove it. Adrian.
All right, Katie Simpson in Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks, Katie.
Okay, let's go to Arizona now, where Joe Biden is still hanging on to a narrowing lead. David Common is in Phoenix for us. So David, let's start, if we could, with the protesters that we saw outside the election office last night. I mean, what's the situation there today?
Once again, seeing them again here tonight. You see them in behind me, a large group, couple of hundred people. Once again, some people armed, but they say they are peaceful, and it has been that. They're reciting the Oath of Allegiance or Pledge of Allegiance right now. This is the parking lot for where the vote count itself happens, just inside this building over here. And earlier this evening, they released some numbers that show the gap, the margin between Joe Biden and Donald Trump has shrunk just ever so slightly. The folks here saying they're here to protect democracy.
The tranquility of the desert morning could not be more stark from last night. Trump supporters, some armed, protesting outside this vote counting center.
America will not fall to communism and socialism.
They allege fraud and voter suppression, demanding entry to see the count themselves. Sheriff's deputies blocking them. Inside, the slow process of counting continued. Joe Biden starting today with a slight lead, though with nearly 450,000 ballots still to count statewide this morning. Machines in this center could handle just 8,000 an hour.
I'm talking about bona fide voter fraud.
Meanwhile, outside, protesters returned confronting election workers.
Who knows if somebody voted 10 times, 2 times?
How can they vote 10 times? How can they get 10 ballots?
I don't know.
Where do they get? They
I don't know.
The guns returned too, all legal here.
You're not worried about division?
It's long overdue, another civil war in this country, in all honesty.
In neighboring Nevada, also razor close in the count, Trump's team launched legal action.
It is unacceptable in this country to have illegal votes counted, and that is what's happening in the state of Nevada.
They allege dead people were counted as voting and parroting the president that Republican votes were dismissed. Back in Phoenix, Democrat Alexandra Cortez made a plea.
We need to stand together, and whether one or the other wins, we have to be a nation.
Okay, so David, how close are officials there to knowing the winner in Arizona?
Well, it's going to be days, certainly, before they get to the point where they can get through these hundreds of thousands of votes that still have yet to be counted. That's key in all of this. The question, of course, is once they are counted, when there are results here, does this kind of thing go away? And the question, or the answer to that, is quite likely not. I would point out right now they're playing the song YMCA. So jubilation, enthusiasm here tonight, in contrast to something a bit more aggressive that we saw last night and have seen elsewhere in the United States. Worries about whether that peace, that last one I was speaking about, will be achievable. Andrew?
Okay, thank you, David. David Common in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, the United States reported more than 100,000 daily cases of COVID-19 for the first time.
We're not in any control of the coronavirus right now across the U.S.
Up next, how Americans are coping with the worst of the pandemic.
Plus, a look at the United States' image on the world stage.
For the rest of the world, there's going to be concern.
What a divided U.S. means for its allies.
And later, tracking election misinformation on social media.
So I'd ask all Americans to be patient, to treat all sensational and unverified claims with skepticism.
How it's spreading and the damage it can cause. We're back in 2.
And we're reminded again of the severity of this pandemic. We're nearing 240,000 deaths due to COVID. And our hearts go out to each and every family that has lost a loved one.
Well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made a statement this afternoon after receiving separate briefings on the economy and the pandemic. As the country awaits an electoral outcome, COVID cases do continue to rise. The U.S. broke another record today with 114,000 new infections. Several states also reported a surge in hospitalizations. Christine Birak has the details.
A staggering number of Americans are now fighting for their lives as COVID-19 hospitalizations reportedly hit 52,000 patients.
We're not in any control of the coronavirus right now across the U.S.
According to COVID Tracking Project, several U.S. states are now seeing record-breaking numbers of Americans lying in hospital beds. In El Paso, Texas, over 1,000 patients were admitted in a single day. Health officials say they're near a breaking point. Field hospitals are being set up and mobile morgues are standing by.
If I had to summarize the U.S. response to the coronavirus pandemic, it has been, let's just hope it goes away.
Texas is currently clocking over 3,300 cases for every 100,000 people, 5 times higher than in Canada, where that number is 660. Public health experts in the U.S. say the surge in COVID cases is a direct result of the Trump administration downplaying this virus, adding the situation will remain the same unless there's a change in leadership.
If there is a transition, it would not be until late January, so this is something that we're still going to cope with.
And with American Thanksgiving weeks away, doctors are now pleading with Americans to stop the spread.
To the people that say, well, I'm young and I don't care if I get COVID, guess what? Your mom and dad might not be as lucky.
It is a pain that I can't even begin to describe.
Jennifer Ciolik-Padana lost her parents to COVID-19 in April. They were married for 50 years and died just days apart.
I never thought that, these holidays that are coming up, that I would be spending them without my parents.
Despite over 234,000 American deaths, some fear the worst is yet to come. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
I'm going to tell you a story.
I advise you to watch it.
Can't wait to see it, actually. They always find ways to surprise you. Well, I'm ready. It's going to be raw, it's going to be edgy, it's going to be...
Like super funky.
Oh, did you guys meet?
Friends.
Friends.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
It's the best. I liked it all.
I would buy it.
Now that is free.
No fair.
Completely free. Preach.
And it's all about what you love, isn't it?
It helps to be entertaining.
All right, welcome back. Votes are still being counted tonight in some states with very tight races. The magic number needed to win, you keep hearing this, 270 electoral college votes. So you can see behind me where things stand. Joe Biden has 253, Donald Trump 214. So the wait will only end when those numbers change as key states finally post results. But will that be the end of the strife, of the conflict? President Trump has launched several lawsuits. He has demanded recounts. So, Ian, what impact could that have?
It ain't over till the Supreme Court weighs in, right? That was your experience back in 2000. And sure enough, recounts and lawsuits are something we're hearing a lot about. So in terms of recounts, let's look at Wisconsin, a state that Joe Biden has won, but Donald Trump has said he wants a recount. It's entirely within his legal right. A candidate can demand a recount in Wisconsin if the margin of victory is less than 1%. The margin of victory here was 0.6 of 1 percentage point. But it's one thing to get a recount. It's another thing for the recount to move anything. And if you look back at 2016, the third candidate in the presidential race, the third place candidate, demanded a recount. All of the ballots in Wisconsin were reviewed, and in the end, all that did is increase Donald Trump's lead by 137. And so the experts say that recounts may move 100 or 200 votes, almost certainly not more than 1,000, and definitely not more than 10,000. Joe Biden won Wisconsin by 20,000, so a recount likely won't have much of an impact. In terms of lawsuits, Katie Simpson mentioned one in Georgia. It's interesting because it dealt with just a handful of mail-in ballots, and the court ended up saying that the Trump lawsuit trying to invalidate them just didn't have any evidence. But it's an example of how these can be small, they can be time-consuming. In Pennsylvania, though, we know that state is pivotal. It's a must-win state, as I said earlier, for Donald Trump. It has 20 electoral college votes. There are multiple lawsuits, and in at least 2 cases, a bundle of ballots have been set aside. Segregated is how it's described. In one case, because a state court allowed the deadline for those ballots to be extended by 3 days, the Supreme Court of the United States said, wait a sec, we may want to review this. And so, Adrian and Andrew, for now, those ballots have been put aside. And in a state that is so close, where 20 electoral college votes hang in the balance, that could have a big impact.
Yeah, that's key. Ian, thanks very much. So this is a good time. Let's bring in former Obama administration official Krish Omar Vignaraja. And joining Krish, we have Kelly Jane Torrance, a Canadian, a conservative who sits on the editorial board of the New York Post. So, Kelly, I would really like to start with you, because I'd like to get your reaction to Donald Trump's statement earlier today. As you know, I'm sure you're watching, he continued to make claims of voter fraud. He continued to say a lot of stuff without evidence. What went through you? Can you walk me through what went through you when you heard it?
Yeah, you know, Donald Trump is not the best sometimes at actually stating his own case. There are actually many cases that I've seen that there are questions about the vote and how it's been counted, how it's been dealt with. Donald Trump does not help matters when he really says that the whole election is in doubt, that the whole process is in doubt. There are some small cases that people have pointed out. I mean, we had, numbers coming out of Michigan where overnight they found, 139,000, 428, whatever it was, votes for Biden, 0 for Trump. That was later said to be a typo. So there are things like that that do look concerning, but it's not an overwhelming amount of those sorts of things. And to, say that this is a fraudulent election, not helpful. But at the same time, I found that people's reaction to that, the idea that Donald Trump is undermining the whole election and the rule of law by wanting, the courts to look at it. Every candidate would want the courts to look at it. And Joe Biden, even before the election, also lawyered up because they suspected there could be a close election and it could, go down to legal issues. So this is not something surprising. We've seen in many cases. And, as your reporter said, when the margins are so small in some of these places, they do have a legal right to ask for a recount. So I think people are exaggerating a little. Donald Trump saying that he has some doubts about some of the counts and wanting the courts to look at it. It is not Donald Trump saying, I'm not leaving office, you can't get rid of me. He was certainly somber at his press conference, and I think that does show that he is a little worried about the results, and he's looking to lawyers.
Yeah, I think I certainly hear you. I think saying he had doubts is perhaps more generous than he was with some of the words he was using. He was strong enough with his falsehoods that some of the networks had to cut away. And I'm curious, Krish, we are seeing in this process of trying to discredit the votes, like the mail-in ballots, which he voted by mail, incidentally. A lot of these lawsuits, not all, but a lot of these lawsuits look like they have been thrown out. If Biden manages to hit the 270, and we don't know if that will happen, is there any way you think for Donald Trump to actually litigate his way out of a defeat?
I don't think so. As you just described, the lawsuits that have been filed thus far have been largely unsuccessful. There is no culpable claim that we've seen presented thus far, or evidence that the president or his campaign have referred to suggest that there is any validity in a substantial way that would suggest that any of the state determinations would be overturned. So I think, the strategy seems to be to litigate this in the kind of the public courtroom. But beyond mobilizing the mob of Trump supporters, I don't think he's going to get very far.
So, Kelly, it's interesting watching some of these margins, as you say, in so many places are so tight. No matter what happens, it just exposes this fracture point in the country. And I'm curious, for either team, Trump or Biden, how on earth do you govern after this?
That's a great question, Adrienne. And I don't think it's helpful when you have so many pundits and politicians on the Democratic side calling nearly half the country racist. You had an article in the New York Times that said minorities voting for Trump proves white supremacy because they're standing with their oppressors. 538, which is one of the most well-regarded, election analyst sites in the United States, their top political writer called Trump voters racist. I don't think that's helpful, and I don't think that's wise for the Democrats. If they want to govern for all of America and they want to try to persuade those voters so they don't have such a close election in the future, I don't think calling them racist is helpful. And actually, Trump did better in every demographic group in 2020 as opposed to 2016, except for white men. That was the only group he actually lost ground on. He gained 4 points in black men and women. He gained 3 points in Hispanic men and women, the exit polls show, and I suspect the Hispanic number will turn out to be higher. The Republicans actually took 2 House seats from the Democrats thanks to Hispanic turnout. The idea that people are only voting for Donald Trump because they're racist is not a way to heal any divisions and to try to bring people together. People are voting for Trump for various reasons. A lot of them are voting for him because they like his policies. And so, going forward, calling half the country racist is not helpful. And it does show that Joe Biden's policies were not convincing to a lot of people. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And I do worry that even just the last few days, what we've seen before the election's even decided has really divided things further.
All right, Krish and Kelly, I could listen to you all day. We can't, though. Thank you for your time tonight. I have no doubt we will speak with you again very soon.
And when we come back, we're seeing online rumors have a real-life impact. How all this uncertainty with the election is fueling the spread of misinformation. Welcome back. General Motors is bringing pickup truck production back to Southern Ontario.
We never gave up hope. And frankly, neither did General Motors.
Unifor President Jerry Dias says the union and GM have struck a $1.3 billion deal to reopen the shuttered Oshawa assembly plant. Last year, it was turned into a sub-assembly facility, eliminating thousands of jobs. Today's deal also includes investments in GM plants in St. Catharines and Woodstock, Ontario. Well, Toronto Police Services has suspended an officer without pay after his sentencing today for the vicious off-duty beating of a black man. Magda Gabriel-Salasa has more on a case that galvanized protesters.
Sentenced to serve 9 months, Michael Theriault left the courtroom in cuffs. The Toronto police officer was convicted of the 2016 assault of Devonte Miller while off duty. From Miller's legal counsel today,
the 9 months imprisonment is a fit sentence, but it will never create closure for a young man whose life is forever changed because of the beating administered by Mike Theriault and his brother.
Miller was 19 at the time. His serious injuries included the loss of an eye. Theriault and his brother were accused of chasing and beating him with a metal pipe. They said they were trying to arrest the teen for allegedly breaking into the family vehicle and that they acted in self-defense. Along with jail time, Theriault will face probation and a weapons ban. His brother was acquitted. Devonte Miller wasn't in the courtroom today to hear this sentence, but he did release a statement in which he said he just wanted to see those who harmed him and who altered his life to be held accountable. The case sparked outrage and protests, calls of anti-black racism and accusations of a police cover-up. The Special Investigations Unit is supposed to be notified in cases like this, but wasn't.
Where are all the police officers who knew what happened to Devonte 4 years ago and didn't say anything? How do we make amends with them when they haven't acknowledged their behavior? This is the pattern in the story of policing, and it's not going to change.
Some say getting ahead of the problem would be the real solution.
I don't want to see officers assault people and then be held to account. I'd rather, and I think many members of the public would rather simply see officers not assaulting people.
Theriault is already out on bail, pending an appeal. Magda Gabriel-Salasa, CBC News, Toronto.
Up next, a changing role on the world stage. What the current uncertainty and divisiveness in the U.S. means for the country's image and its relationship with its allies.
Well, since Election Day, nearly 40% of Donald Trump's tweets have been labeled by Twitter as misleading. Still, the president's accusations of electoral fraud keep coming from him and others. And Thomas Daigle looks at how those claims are still being amplified exponentially on social media.
This is not a fair election.
There are plenty of dubious videos out there that would have you believe U.S. election officials really are up to something. Take this one, shot at a vote counting center in Detroit.
You wouldn't be able to trust that just because some ballots could fly off the back.
Purporting to show a man wheeling a wagon carrying fraudulent ballots.
Wow!
Except a local TV station easily debunked that video.
The wagon, we have it right here. This is what it looks like. It was carrying, as it is now, equipment for our crews who were working long hours.
Stop the steal!
Those online rumors are having a real-world impact. Facebook just took down a group organizing protests claiming the election was being stolen. 365,000 members had joined in just one day.
Disinformation can spread quite rapidly and then be screenshot and shared again and again through different accounts and via different networks.
Twitter and other platforms may label misleading posts, but there are ways around the filters. Consider this Trump tweet, #BidenCrimeFamily, a slogan used to spread false claims. Notice family is misspelled, likely on purpose.
In an attempt to get around platform mitigation, because that's the power of these kind of viral pieces of misinformation. Once they're stuck in there, they sound correct.
We are not prepared to give that number now.
This press conference disrupted with that potent slogan.
The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media's covering it up.
Illustrating how those words can spark danger. So it's no wonder why the head of U.S. cybersecurity had this warning.
I'd ask all Americans to be patient, to treat all sensational and unverified claims with skepticism.
They are watching for trouble amid an unresolved election. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Americans are not alone in waiting for their election results. So is the rest of the world, including the country's international partners who have a lot riding on the result. Margaret Evans looks at the impact of this tumultuous election on U.S. alliances and reputation.
Old friends, Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt, immortalized on a London street. Symbols of the transatlantic alliance born of World War II and still pulled out and re-examined here with each turn of the page in U.S. presidential history. But few administrations have caused quite as much consternation for their allies as Donald J. Trump's has. This week's roller coaster of an election, no exception.
The gloss is off the rose for a lot of America's key partners.
Analysts say the depth of division exposed by the election means domestic issues will preoccupy the next administration, whatever its political stripe. If not by design, then of necessity.
For the rest of the world, there's going to be concern that this means that America is going to put its international commitments even further down the pipeline of its priorities.
Donald Trump has shunned the multilateralism of his allies. But critics say the bitter election scenes stateside are just as damaging to the country's image, especially amongst those looking to the U.S. as an example.
Something that we normally experience in Africa. Can this happen in a country that has seen democracy for centuries?
Washington's handling of COVID-19 hasn't helped either, according to a survey of European countries.
Perception to the US had dropped massively everywhere, and also perceptions of the US as an ally on handling the crisis were extremely low.
A weak Washington, of course, will of necessity weaken its allies too. And it begs a familiar question. If the United States can't or won't take on the role of world leader, who or what fills the vacuum? Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Okay, next we take a break from politics and go on an adventure with a bear. This little cub tried to cross the border, and the story behind it is next in our moment.
I'm going to tell you a story.
I advise you to watch it.
Can't wait to see it, actually.
They always find ways to surprise you.
Well, I'm ready. It's gonna be raw, it's gonna be edgy, it's gonna be...
Like super funky.
Oh, did you guys meet?
Friends.
Friends.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
It's the best. I liked it all. I would buy it. Now that is free. No fair.
Completely free. Preach.
And it's all about what you love, innit?
It helps to be entertaining.
Well, this little guy clearly did not get the memo about the border closure. Her name is Annie, and she recently tried making her way from BC to Alaska. But this Canadian cub didn't get across the border, and the story behind that is our moment.
There was a little bear cub in Stewart, seen numerous times by herself. We got permission from the conservation officers to set a life trap. We left the trap up there with one of our volunteers, and then we got the call from the border that there was a little bear cub trying to get into the building. He called and he said, well, it's a little unusual request, but this is what's happening. And I said, yeah, well, we can help. We sent Kim over there right away. She set the life trap right by the building where the little bear was, and as soon as it got a whiff of the food that she had in there, it came down and marched right into the trap. 2 boys of Kim, the rescuer, they named her Orphaned Annie, and we didn't want to have such a long name, so we shortened it down to Annie, and it suits her. She's really cute. Big joy on our part that we caught her after all, and that we can give her the second chance now that she so much deserves.
Okay, well, good for Annie for going right to the door. But the Canadian Border Services Agency sent in their social media post a note. A small female black bear cub sought entry for essential reasons but had no travel documents.
You know, I didn't know how much I needed an animal story
I know.
until now. But, you know, so we wish her well. Apparently they will have to take care of her for a couple of months because she doesn't have enough heft to her to hibernate. But, hey, crossing our fingers.
Good on
In good hands. That's the National for this November 5th. Have a good night.
Good night. Good evening. I'm Adrienne Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. 48 hours after